Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. And today I'm going to do a video response for Dylan, Double D Vintage. And Dylan is just an awesome guy in the community, one of the best guys in the entire community. He does things for everyone, he participates in everything, he's just a friendly guy. And you know, he's one that I am super anxious to meet at the National. And I'm going to give him a huge hug when I see him. And he's just an incredible guy. So I just want to do this VR for him. And what he's asking us to do is do a VR of cards that belong together. Cards that belong together. So since I'm a Cuban card collector, I wanted to kind of just show two Cuban players that belong together. And I'll talk to you why they belong together. These are, here they are right here. Camilo Pascual and Pedro Ramos. Both of these guys were born in Cuba. Camilo Pascual is now 89 years old, and Pedro Ramos is 88 years old. They played around the same time, pretty much similar years. Camilo was a 7-time All-Star, and Pedro Ramos was also an All-Star. So let's take a look at this card right here, and this is the pitching partners. And this tells you, you know, unfortunately they played for Washington. This is a terrible team. But check this out. The top two right-handed flingers for the Senators, Camilo and Pedro, are rough on the American League foes. Last year they combined their talents and posted 6 shutouts, which incidentally was the total whitewashes for the entire Washington club. So back in that year, every shutout that was pitched by the wipe the card a little bit. Every shutout that was pitched by Washington was pitched by either Pedro Ramos or Camilo Pascual. No other Washington pitcher pitched a shutout. So these two guys were both born in Cuba. Camilo was born in Havana, and Pedro Ramos was born in Pinar del Rio. Very similar in age. They did very similar times in their careers. They played together. So they need to be together. So that's two guys I'm going to put together here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And along with them, we'll go ahead and put Camilo's card, 59 card. And we're going to put Pedro Ramos's 59 card. So those are cards that belong together. The pitching partners, both the top pitchers for the Washington Senators, both Cuban pitchers, and they're both actually in the Cuban Hall of Fame. So let's take a look at Camilo Pascual. Camilo Pascual was one of the top strikeout pitchers in the day. Not only was he a strikeout pitcher, he was just an incredible pitcher. And when I look at Baseball Reference and see who does he compare to, it says that he compares to Fernando Valenzuela. Camilo's got a little better record than Valenzuela, but that's the comparison that the Baseball References says. And Camilo, just to give you an idea how good he actually was in playing for a team this bad, he had a WAR of 40.9. He won 174 games. His ERA for terrible teams was 3.6. He had over 2,000 strikeouts, and his WHIP was 1.287. So not only that, he also had saves. He had 10 saves. He started over 400 games in his career. And like I said, he was a 7-time All-Star. So awesome pitcher, Camilo. Let's take a look at the back of his card. I'm gonna wipe the back here. It says, Camilo once made 3 sacrifice hits in one game. It says last year Camilo beat the Tigers and Yanks twice while losing only once to each. During the winter, he developed a new sidearm pitch that figures to give AL batters a hard time, and it sure did give AL batters a hard time, because once he developed that pitch, you see his record here, he was kind of a losing pitcher. But in his career, he ended up being a winning pitcher and won 174 and lost 170 games. But he became a strikeout pitcher. He was a strikeout pitcher, but he became a strikeout pitcher even more back in the days. In 1961, he was the leading strikeout He had more strikeouts than anybody in the National League. Let's take a look at Pedro Ramos. And this is also his 1959 card. Pedro Ramos also was an all-star. He won 117 games. His WAR is 21.9. He struck out over 1,300 batters, and his WHIP was 1.31. And he also was a reliever. He was much more a reliever near the end of his career than Camilo was. So he actually had 54 saves as a reliever. So Pedro Ramos, again, another good pitcher, born in Pinar del Rio, Cuba, and won 117 games in the majors. Both of these guys also played in Cuba, and they had good records over there. So here it is. The big winner on the Senator staff. Pedro also suffered from the most defeats of any American League hurler. So, here he is. He won 14, but lost 18. It's tough to be on the Washington team back in those days. It says Pedro's league-leading record in 54 brought him to the majors. So he was an incredible pitcher also. You can see in 1954 he was 15-4. So that brought him over to the majors, and he ended up being a great pitcher. It says Pedro has a good fastball and curve and knows how to breeze the ball past the batters. So that's Pedro Ramos. Pedro Ramos and Camilo Pascual, pitching partners. So let's, we can either display them like this, Dylan, or we can display them with another year of their cards, which is 1956. And here's the 1956 card of Camilo Pascual. And these guys have to be displayed together. They played together. They were born in Cuba around the same time. They played around the same years together, and they were around the same age. One is currently 88, the other one's currently 89 years old. So here's Camilo, and here's, back in 1956, won 2 and lost 12 playing for that team. So you can imagine, and then after this, of course, he took off, and he ended up winning over 175 games, 174 games, with over 2,100 strikeouts. And here it is. Camilo is the best when the pressure is the greatest. He has a variety of pitches that keep batters guessing. It says took him only 3 years to go from Class D to the majors. That's because they had both played in Cuba and were very experienced already. So that's Camilo's 56 card, and there's Pedro Ramos's 56 card. And let's take a look at the back of Pedro Ramos's card. Pedro, again, was born in Cuba. He was born in 1935, and Camilo was born in 1934. So they were pitching partners, they were Cuban partners, and they played on the same team for many, many years. It says last year, Pedro had the lowest Washington earned run average. In 54, Pedro led the Mount State League with a .759 percentage. And you can see here that he had 26-12 record back in those days here. So that's Pedro Ramos. So those are cards that go together. Pedro Ramos, Camilo Pascual. Let's look at a couple more of Pedro Ramos, Camilo Pascual cards. And here's Camilo's 1960 card. And you can see in the back, Camilo led the American League with 17 complete games and 7 shutouts last year. 7 shutouts. You don't see 7 shutouts nowadays. But but he was a great pitcher. Like I said, Camilo had a WAR of almost 41. He had a 40.9 WAR, which is pretty strong. So there's the other Camilo card. So let's put Camilo together. Let's put Camilo together with Pedro. And I'm going to go ahead and move this guy over here. And here's Pedro. There's the other Pedro. And here's the Pedro Ramos from 1960 card. This is 1960. And again, from the Washington Senators. Who knows what it would have been if they would have been on a better team. Now, Pedro Ramos played basketball between seasons. Of course, they had to do something else, and he was a basketball player. And you could see that he was 6 feet tall, which in those days was, pretty tall. And it says April 9th, he wins the opening game with a 7-hitter. Holds the White Sox to 4 hits. Hurls 10 innings, giving up only 7 hits. And he helped win his own game against Cleveland with a home run. So there's Pedro Ramos card from 1960. So I've got Pedro Ramos and Camilo Pascual. And those guys go together. And show a couple more of these. This is an autographed Camilo Pascual, 1960 card. I don't have an autographed Pedro Ramos, but I hope to pick one up. So that's the Camilo autograph. And I want to thank Hammer 44, because he sent me this beautiful Topps Giant Camilo Pascual with the beautiful Camilo Pascual autograph, which I did not have, so I just want to thank Hammer on that. So that's the Topps Giant. And then it says here, Pascual, strikeout king again. Camilo fanned 202 batters in 1963 and won his 3rd straight strikeout title with the Minnesota Twins. The curveballer with 221 men in 61, 206 in 1962, and he developed a top-flight major league pitcher, and he was interesting to watch. So that is the Camilo Pascual 64 Giants autographed. So we'll add that to the group. So these are cards that for Dylan that should be displayed together. 2 pitching partners that both were able to leave Cuba, come to the majors, become major leaguers, top pitchers in the major league, and they earned a total of 8 all-star appearances between them, with Camilo Pascual being one of the top pitchers in those days. So I wanted to put these guys together. Like Dylan says, these are cards that belong together. These are 2 players that belong together. Their career mirrored each other from Cuba through the majors on the same team. Both were incredible pitchers. Both pitched for many, many, many years. And, they just were one of the top Cuban pitchers during those days. Camilo came in during 1954. That's when he started. And Pedro Ramos started in 1955. So basically their career were together for the majority of their time. And just wanted to show you for Dylan, this is the VR that you wanted of cards and players that belong together and should be displayed together. And this is the Cuban combo, Camilo Pascual and Pedro Ramos. I want to thank everybody for watching my channel. Please go ahead and watch Dylan's channel. I'll go ahead and link to his channel there. He's an awesome, awesome guy. I'm sure you're going to love his channel, and his content is incredible. So thanks everyone for watching my video, and I appreciate it very, very much. Please like and subscribe and leave some comments. I always appreciate that. Thanks for watching. This is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Have an awesome, awesome day, everyone.